Yeah, I did make that change, didn't I? Oopsie. Okay. So how is this going to work here for with this with this running as asynchronous now? How do I actually deal with that problem? Trying to decide because XUnit doesn't have a great way of doing. I think you have to do I asynchronous lifetime if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, XUnit I async lifetime. Hey, look at that. It's like I've already done this once before. So with XUnit, yeah, initialize async, do the asyncy thing. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. So different unit testing frameworks have different ways of dealing with setup and teardown because it's quite common in testing frameworks to have some common startup and teardown logic that you might want for a group of tests. And in XUnit, the default way of handling that is with the constructor and then iDisposable for cleanup. And I'm just going to file scope namespace while I'm in here. But in this case, this isn't reasonably possible because that will not work in this case. So we're going to declare it non-nullable, or declare it nullable and then mark as not null. And specifically doing that because this initialize async will end up doing the work for us that we need. Let's see. I need to make you a get set so that I can assign you further down. That goes there. And I think I do. Oh, that's cool. Hang on. Back up. So I type await tab. Oh, that's kind of slick. I don't have running. Let's do that real quick. That's kind of cool. Okay, so let's back that up one more time. So await tab and it puts in the async for you. That's pretty nice. Okay. Whoever put that in Visual Studio, points awarded. I approve. That is awesome. So I think app has a dispose async on it, which means I can get rid of this, I think, and make you no longer. I think that's going to actually cause one more error because that method was virtual, which means I almost assuredly overrode it somewhere. Which probably means this guy will need to be. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. I was just doing. And I guess we can clean this up and go expression body member on that too. It's a one-liner. We'll keep it short and sweet. Okay, cool. So that is all set up and happy and wonderful and everyone loves it. I'm going to actually just it may be a little chatty, but I'm going to put in this. How about let's just do message lambda output right line. This is XAML test's way of spewing back a lot of output. There's not log levels on it at the moment. I've contemplated whether I want that or not. Right now it just has two settings, on and off. And so far that's all I've cared about. But it can be a little chatty. Okay, well we'll fix my PR. Let's see, fixing, or how about XAML test API change. Boom, push, try that again. Okay, now on to what I was actually going to do tonight. Close that. Okay, so we'll let that sit. This pull request should go. And while we're waiting, let's just clear some PRs, or at least clear this PR. Boom, boom, boom. Icon update, huzzah. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of things that have been labeled as bug, and I was going to start clearing them out. So this one was on the combo box, and it looked like this one was not working. So thank you, Ken. He's even put together a nice little repository. I have a feeling I already know what this looks like. One thing that I will call out real quick on this code. Generally, when you're setting your style properties, you don't want to set style with a dynamic resource. So inside of WPF, you've got either dynamic or static resources. Dynamic resource has additional overhead because it watches for changes. Because dynamic resources are meant to handle things like, say, theme color changes. And if this key gets a new value, it automatically updates, which is great. Nothing in the material design library is going to update this style at runtime. So unless you're doing something behind the scenes with style updates, which is kind of rare, like very rare, static resource is typically better. So dynamic resources for things like brushes and colors that might change at runtime. And even then, you can get away with static resource if you know you're never going to change it. So if they're going to be set once, static resource, dynamic resource if they might change. Right click on combo box. So the key part here is the material design combo box style with is editable true. And then getting the cut, copy, paste, the standardized context menu, which is apparently not happening. Pull that beast and let's go do a test, because this feels like something I want to write a test for. Combo box, because clearly, and I may at some point do a big bang change where I just go through and file scope namespace all the things, but for now we're going to leave it. Okay, so let's go down here and we'll do, I'm just going to steal this real quick. I'd love feedback if people have a better way of doing this, but there's, for XAML test, there is kind of some boilerplate that always needs to occur, which is kind of annoying. Let's see, 2690. We're going to do this one first. Boom. On combo box, how about on editable combo box? So in terms of testing, this is something I've actually been discussing with a lot of colleagues recently. Oftentimes when writing tests, my very strong opinion is that a test name should communicate three things. What is being tested? What conditions is it being tested under? And what is the expected outcome? And once you've written the test name, the rest of it just kind of falls out. So on editable combo box context menu, actually, how about we'll put it here with default context menu shows cut, copy, paste. So what is being tested, the condition under which it's being tested, and my expected outcome. So then all I have to do is write the test to match. So people who follow like the AAA, arrange, act, assert pattern, this here is, so what is being tested, your arrange, the act, the thingy that's going to be tested, in this case the default context menu, and then the assert. It usually boils down as simple as that. Okay, but in this particular case, I think I'm going to actually just steal, because I want this to be as close to the original poster's did I? Huh, I wonder how it dropped off stack panel there. That's interesting. Doesn't matter. We're going to get rid of it anyway, but okay. And then we are going to put in paste, and then this is going to be a bunch of stuff. So we're going to drop that. Make is edible true. Hey, I assume this is still Justin Bieber. A long time no see, 2 weeks. Yes, I do apologize. I had some business trips, and then I was just beat exhausted by the end of it. So ended up taking a couple weeks off because I was just I was burned out. So I little bit of recovery, but now thankfully back. Let's see. I don't really like having to escape my curly braces. Let's just drop that. There, problem solved. Let's see. I don't think I care about any of those things. Okay, so is selected true. Not overly relevant, but we'll let it be there for now, and then we're going to fix the indentation. So going to try to smash some bugs on the material design project. Hopefully really quick. We will see. I always say that I think I'm just going to blaze through bugs, and sometimes that doesn't actually play out practically the same way as it does in my head. Okay, so I'm just going to clean some of these up, Okay, so that looks like something that should reproduce the problem. And this needs to be a combo box because that's the root level element that we're going in with. So we should rename this combo box. Get rid of this. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't care about any of that. Mr. Bieber sends waves of healing to the streamer. Plus 42 heal. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Yeah, feeling much better now. Happy to be back and be coding because it did feel like a couple weeks where I didn't get much time to write code at all. I always feel like when I go on business trips that, oh, you'll have time in the evenings and you'll be able to get so much done. No. For some reason, when you aren't in your own house, in your own bed, by the end of the day, I feel a lot more drained. And so oftentimes I get back and to the hotel room and I just want to crash. It's like, nothing bad about the clients. It was a good time. It felt like long days. Okay, so here we want to open the context menu. So I think we just right click. And then I'm trying to think how we get the context menu. Let's just make sure we can recreate this. Task.delay. Time span. Stop it. Do what I tell you. From seconds 10. We'll just hang it for a minute and verify that we actually see the reproduction. So step 1, verify bug. Then step 2, fix bug. And wow, build took 7.6 seconds. Well, that does appear to be the bug. Oh, interesting. That thing even doesn't want to. That's very interesting. I want to fire up the demo app real quick because that looks like the entire is editable style is broken. That feels like something I should have caught. Let's check this. Okay, well this is at least working. That makes me feel a little better. But the context menu is certainly not there. Because I am, you can't see it because nothing's happening, but I am definitely right-clicking, and it is definitely no worky. And I have a sinking suspicion I know why. This thing says is editable true, but it is not putting the cursor in there like what I would expect. Well, there it is. Can I get the context menu with the... do I have a context? I don't even know if I've got it. Some keyboards have a little key to pop your context menu. I don't think this keyboard even has one. That's exciting. Okay. But I agree that that is no worky. Okay, so let's start with the obvious thing. Fire up Snoop and let's go a spelunking. Because I'm assuming this guy must have it in there somewhere, and maybe we just aren't triggering the right thing. So toggle button, template group, arrow. Where is my... That's the text block. There's is editable should have a, there it is, a text box. And this guy should have a context menu. What? Do you not, wait, what? Am I crazy? Huh? What is the... What is... I'm missing something obvious that is... Normally there'd be a context menu property is what I would have told everyone it was named, and now I'm questioning my sanity because I don't see it. Where is the context menu? Okay. Let's just hypothetically, let's see, fields. That one has it. Let's just take a little quick gander. See, that is not what we were going for. There's the text block. Okay, now I'm just feeling stupid. Okay, Google, educate me. WPF, context menu. Button, context menu. I'm not crazy. Find a style, the context menu, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Snoop, why? Did something happen where it stopped showing the context menu property? That would be very, very disappointing to me. Loading hint offset. System object. Interesting. That's probably a bug. Okay, we're gonna deal with that in a moment. Okay. Let me just let's see. I have not watched it yet. I've only had time at the end of the stream. It seems they're going to develop WPF. Do you know anything? Oh, is this the community stand-up from earlier? It is. It is. It is. It is. I have not. I have not watched this yet. I saw it come up on my feed about a half hour ago, and it is on my queue of things to watch. So I unfortunately wasn't able to catch it earlier. So I don't know anything. I only know rumors of things that I've heard tale of on Twitter. So it seems like there's two ways I've heard people interpret what was said during that meeting. One is, hurrah, they're going to be putting more effort into WPF, and they're actually like putting together roadmap and getting it open and that kind of thing, which on one hand sounds good. On the other hand, some people were taking it as, okay, there's now community contributions coming in, which are good. It can move forward, but Microsoft has a bit of a history of when they make it community contributions. Oftentimes, for bigger projects, the community doesn't necessarily take over, and so things can sometimes get stale and die out. So so some people are seeing it as a negative and a risk. But yes, I will give it a watch and can give some comments next stream on it. With that said, I'm not overly concerned with it. WPF certainly has some flaws, and the repo has some pull requests that have been open for a very long time that would be great to see get fixed. But overall, WPF is pretty stable, so I'm not too terribly concerned with it. The number of known WPF issues are there. I may throw things in there. There's been a handful of things that have come up where stuff is broken. There was an issue around, what was it? It might have been context menus with Net 6 when it first dropped, but then they fixed it right away, which was great. Or maybe it was Net 5, one of those two. There was some issue with one of the menu options that caught everyone off guard. But yeah, I will give it a look and take and go through it. That is a project I would love to see move forward. With that said, I have been contemplating revisiting my WinUI 3 port of the Material Design Library, partly because I think it would be fun to get a WinUI 3 port rolling for the Material Design project, just to expand reach a little bit, and partly because I want to learn WinUI a little better. But that does invoke some questions about, well, what is the NuGet package going to look like? Is there going to be a new one with a different ID? How do you share code? Yada 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 yada. So there's a bunch there, because it is almost a full rewrite. But there is a lot of, like WinUI, a lot of the names translate across, so it's fairly code compatible, even if the API is very, very different. That's right. I was going to look at Combo Box. CB. See, there is a context menu property. Snoop, why are you not showing it to me? Okay, so I think what I want to do is then go visual element, context menu. Context menu gets await combo box. What is it? Get context menu. What is your problem? Converting. There's that. Oh no, it's that, because context menu is a nullable property. So step 1, assert not null, because I want to make sure that we actually get one. And then context menu, get element. Now I want to get element by, so hang on, I did do query. Shoot, I just wrote this. Element query, that's what it is. Property expression, so This is going to be menu item. So menu item. Let's see there. It takes an expression. So x lambda x dot content. What does a menu item have? Why am I feeling like I can't remember the APIs of any of these classes? This is what happens when you don't code for a couple weeks. You end up forgetting all of the basic stuff. Oh, it's header. That's what I'm looking for. Header. Oh, no, it's not. I just use that to specify the thing, and then comma, and I'm looking for cut. There we are. That's what I want. Cert. Null. And this needs to be awaited. And then that we can assert is not, or we know is non-null because we did the assertion just above. Do you allow me to tack a message? I can't remember. No. Okay. Cut. Copy. Paste. And this, the only thing that's making me a little unnerved on this is, well, we'll get this test working first and make sure we fix the bug. This here with the hard-coded cut, copy, paste may prove problematic if somebody on a different locale tries to run the test. Because the context menu is localized. I leverage the built-in WPF localization to get the right strings, which means they won't necessarily say cut, copy, paste on all locales. It'll work on an English box, and it'll work on the pipelines. But I can't guarantee it'll work for everybody, which is bit problematic. Oh, and this one, yeah, so this is going to find me items of type that should work, I think. Run the test. And then we'll go figure out why the combo box is so horribly broken. I'm guessing this test is going to fail nicely for me. Good, it did fail nicely. Where did you fail? Combo box test. So it's just failing right here. Combo box is just straight up not having a context menu. Okay, let's go hunting. Let's go hunting and figure out where the issue is. So if we come down here, combo box, and then more importantly, we want to look at this guy, and then we probably want to pick on editable. Let's see, this is the editable text box. That's actually probably a reasonable thing to hunt. Actually, let's crank this up to 100. Okay, so part editable text box. This guy here, and I'm guessing, so the only thing that I'm noticing is this is the, well, let's actually find the right style first, I guess. So let's go back to here and find me the style. Okay, so this is the style being applied. Not overly shocking. Blah, 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 blah. Is editable. This is fine. I was just noticing that there. Okay, so this is the template that's being applied with this style. So we go into the template. This template has the editable text box. This text box has the following style being applied to it. And this gets us all the way into here. And this has, oh, the context menu is getting assigned lower down. Default context menu. Interesting. So I'm guessing that I know exactly which fix broke this. So let's just look at the history here. Okay, DevOps. I get it. You don't like me. Come here, get cracking. Let's see. History. Combo box. That's the demo. Themes. Combo box. That one. That isn't likely to be the problem. That isn't likely to be the problem. Still don't think that's the problem. This is more likely the one that I was thinking of, because this one restructured to fix a different bug. And the fact that I wasn't seeing the usual I-beam for the cursor was kind of a hint there. Because, so let's look at 2525. That might be, this may be one of those situations where we're fighting one bug against another. Sure, get me in. I want to see 2525. Was broken. Yeah, so that fixed that, but didn't get us quite where we wanted to be. I am also wondering if the simple solution is just to move the context menu up rather than having it being applied so far down. Let's bounce this guy up. I don't see it. Elemental. Let's see. Okay, my thing is being very aggressive doing its format on save, but regardless, let's test this really quick. Because I am wondering if just bumping the context menu up to the combo box is the easy fix. Doesn't quite fix the cursor. Not sure I like that. It seems like the editable combo box, and this is the hard part, is when you have an editable combo box, on one hand, you want to edit the text in the box. You've intentionally set it to editable. That makes sense. But at the same time, you want to be able to click on it for the drop down. And I think those are the two competing. Look at that. So we actually got a context menu now. Not exactly shocking. Test. The test passed. Cool. Took 11 seconds for that thing to pass, though. Wow. Oh, took 11 seconds because we have a task delay of 10 seconds in there. That'll do it. Okay, so that quote unquote fixes it. Let me rerun those tests one more time. I am curious if those buttons actually are going to work. I don't know if they're actually going to, because I have a sinking suspicion with them tied. Oh. They do work. That's a pretty easy fix. That is a very easy fix. I am wondering, though, if they should be limited. Give me me more time to play with this. Run. So it is allowing me copy paste functionality, which is great. Okay. Kill execution. I'm curious if I do is editable false, if this behaves the way I expect. Because that would be the next bit that I would be very, very interested in knowing. Yeah, there's not... It's not a great experience if there's no... Why is this thing not showing the items? Combo box item. I am a little curious why I'm not seeing the other items in the list. I'm thinking that we probably don't want to blindly set the context menu, but only do it on editable. Let's see. Hush now. Starting to question what everything I think I know about this. Well, that is not the most useless thing I've seen, but it's close. Okay, let me fire up the demo and take a look at it. Because this guy here has some nice samples. Oh, that's not fixed. Combo box item content. I must be stupid or something because I am missing something very, very obvious. Okay, so go ahead and kill execution, run test, and I want to look at this and snoop. When I hit the drop down, I'm really surprised that I'm not seeing more. Okay, so yeah, I would expect to see more thingies down here. I'm a little confused why I'm not seeing more. Okay. Kind of bothering me a little bit. I'm wondering if this one is going a little too quick for me to see. I'm just going to test a theory real quick. I have It should make a difference. Those are supposed to be equivalent. Yeah, so that doesn't make a difference. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And there's nothing there. Huh? We're gonna check this here. Something just feels very wrong. Like there's, and it's only happening in the test, so I'm mildly less concerned, but yeah, so that one has all the things. What am I missing? Snoop instead of VS Tree View. That's a good point, Kenny. We can give that a try. So I'll be curious to see if the Visual Studio Tree View works here. And I'll explain why in just a moment. Well, I'll explain while it's launching. So inside of this test, it's starting an external process. So when this unit test run, it spins a WPF app as an external process, attaches the Visual Studio debugger to it programmatically. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the... Holy crap, it works. That is... So it realizes it's not its XAML. That's kind of cool. Yeah, the Visual Studio tooling has come quite a ways, and it does have a lot of nice little things in it. There's only a handful of things I think it has that Snoop doesn't. One of which is the linking back to the original source code, which in this case, it just can't. Because the original source code is a string in my test. There is no file for it to link back to. So it's kind of crippled in that regard. But yeah, I'm still a little befuddled as to why this thing doesn't have... What did it do? Specified argument was out of range. Index. Element at 1. Visual ancestry. Oh, interesting. So it expects to be able to find a panel. What is going on here? Keep finding bugs. Oh, and this is the combo box placement target. Interesting. Kill execution there. So yeah. Why do you expect to be able to find a panel? Regardless, I'm getting distracted. Focus, focus, focus. Yeah, it is. Okay, so in terms of an actual fix for the bug, let's start with this. Step 1, actual fix, I believe, is just to come down here and tack this setter into the trigger. Next problem. I need to go through and change my options for code cleanup. Because right now, oh, it's not running on save. What is causing format to trigger on save? Format on move line. That what is, because I'd like my one line change without the, right now I'm sure this thing shows as a bit of a rainbow merge. Holy cow. Oh, I know what it is. Looking at these edits, I bet you I know exactly what it is. It is my extension, the XAML formatter that I was playing with, XAML styler. I can just about guarantee you are the current reason. Okay, I will turn you back on in a minute, but for now you're gonna stay off. Okay, so we're gonna cut that line really quick. We're gonna come in here and we're just gonna go with discard all changes. Whoop. Problem solved. And then here we're just gonna go paste. There we go. Okay. What? I want to save this without you changing my indentation. Oh, did that tell me I had to manage extensions? Did it say it wouldn't take effect until it restart? No. Tool. This is getting annoying. What the heck is formatting on save? XAML styler. It did say restart. Thank you, Kenny. In blue text, right-hand side pane. See? This is why I need you around and why I need more Mountain Dew. Don't worry. Problem solved. Yeah, I do want to go through and get a XAML style. So there's a couple things I want to add to the solution at some point. So one of which is a XAML styler config so that everyone can format their XAML the same way, and it just works. But that only works if people have the same tooling installed. And there was already an issue even on the chat room earlier today where people were having questions about what workloads and tooling needs to be installed. And there's a cool file you can add to your solution called a vsconfig that, based upon your existing config, it will prompt you. It's what normally gives you the little yellow box in the corner saying, hey, it looks like you need to have the following workloads installed or whatever, which is great. That way, when people fire up the code, they can get some feedback on if they don't have all of the needed tooling installed, and they can click a button that just installs the right stuff. Which would be awesome. It'd save a little bit of a headache. So I was thinking I was going to add one of those, but it kind of requires me to go through and get my VS into, like, I need to figure out exactly what that set of things is. I'm pretty good at identifying what's missing when people have errors, but it doesn't tell you, hang on, did I? Grumble, grumble, grumble. But it doesn't tell you what things are missing. Let's see. Themes, combo box. Should have just memorized the line number. Oh, I am in the right one. Actually, I think we can hunt is editable. Editable. See? It's not it. Oh, there it is right there. Did this not, or did it save and make a mess of the thing? Yeah, you did. You did. Discard, discard. Paste, save. Aha! There. Now we can save. Okay, because I do want to get the XAML styler working. I don't want it to be part of this. I want the fix to be this. Okay, so I think that goes a long way. We don't want this change in here. We do want these changes. Let me just check and see if my other PR finished. Did. Squash, merge, squash, merge. And then we're going to take this thing and call it... so let's just stash this guy real quick. Pull up on... Huh? No, I want to pull. Pull. Yeah. And then I want to make a new branch here. Create branch. Fix. And I've already forgot my issue number. Fix 2690. Fix 2690. And then pop. And then we take a quick look. This is a whole bunch of stuff that I don't want. There. I add in the tests, which is good. File scope namespace. I know I've mentioned this before. If people are interested in converting to file scope namespaces, sometimes people get weirded out because it's like, oh, look at this huge rainbow merge. Turn on ignore whitespace. Every diff viewer out there has a button for ignore whitespace, or I should say every reasonable diff viewer out there has a button for it. And this is one of those changes where I typically review C# code with ignore whitespace turned on, because whitespace in C# files is not relevant. If I'm reviewing, say, YAML code or a YAML file, I will turn whitespace comparisons on because that makes a big difference. So depending on context, I'm always toggling this ignore whitespace on and off. Okay, so then the fixes for editable combo boxes, add in the context menu, and that should just work. Fixing missing context menu on editable combo boxes. Okay, and I think that is probably reasonable. We got a test, we got a fix, we do a push, we do a submit, and we open PR. Let's see. Fixes pound 2690. Create pull request. If you on GitHub, just whoop, let that guy sit there. Let that guy go. Let's see, this is going into the next milestone, which means this is going into the next milestone, marked as bug. In progress. Okay, let's pick on another one. Hang on changed event. This one, what is this? I'm trying to create a custom pop-up for calendar. Problem is calendar has selected date change, but clock has no such event. This is also, this is an enhancement plus a question. The autosave was options. There's a Boolean filter turned off in XAML style aperture. Ah! Thank you. Thank you. So let's go. Okay. While we're waiting for that PR to merge, let's let's try this real quick. Enable, close, and we'll restart. Boom. Fire up Visual Studio again. Field design. And then let's do, come on, load my pretty, load my pretty. Come on, go. Okay, and tools, options. Come on, you can do it. I know, you're having to stream too. Okay, so let's see here. So There's a Boolean field to turn off in the XAML styler option. So let's just go down to XAML styler. Okay. And then first line. You set to defaults. It's format on save. Look at that. Perfect. Gracias. I appreciate that. That is perfect. Okay, so we'll leave that guy on then. And then I can fix, as long as I do want to get that formatting working. But I also realize I've got a bunch of bugs for people, so I'd like to get at least a preview one. So this clock, though, let's take a look at this. I thought clock already had something like this, but maybe I'm wrong. This might be... So clock is a material design control. I got to file scope the namespace because I'm in here looking at it and trouble stopping it. So there is a... There does not appear to be an easy option here. I thought there was already something in here, but maybe not. I mean, the simplest thing here is, okay, there is legitimately no event. Time property changed callback, or am I misunderstanding the ask? No, you're not misunderstanding the ask. So the so that would be the other way to handle it. So the issue here, if I assume I'm understanding the poster correctly, normally the workaround is as you would expect, is you data bind the clock's, what was it, time property into a something on your view model or your binding context, and you inside of that property's changed, you deal with whatever you need. The part where that starts to I shouldn't say fall apart, where it starts to get a little bit harder is if you want to create like a user control or something where accessing it via the code behind rather than a binding would be easier. And so in those cases, typically what you want is an event, specifically a routed event, that you could then watch to get it. So I think it's reasonable to add an extra event to this guy. And they call out making it match the calendar, which probably makes sense. So let's look at the calendar selected dates changed. I don't think I can... calendar. Yep. Because it is fairly common for, especially dependency properties that bind two-way by default, it is pretty common to have events to go along with it. I was just looking to see how they declared it. So in this case, they don't do it as a routed event. And that probably makes sense. They just do it as a regular C# event. So the difference, a regular C# event is basically a list of delegates that get invoked when the event is raised. So you can imagine if you were to do this work yourself, you could contain a list of actions or funcs, and you just invoke them whenever this event was going, and that's effectively how a multicast delegate works. With a routed event in WPF, it actually, rather than just going out to that list of delegates, it's actually meant for things as part of the visual tree. It'll start, it adds separation between the control that raises the event and the handler for that event. So with a routed event, when it is raised, it is typically with a bubbling strategy. And so it will check first the control that it's on and say, do you have a handler? No. Next control up. Do you have a handler? Do you have a handler? And it'll just keep walking its way up the visual tree until it finds a handler to invoke, and away you go. That's how a lot of things work for like command handlers, because those make a lot of sense. Inside of this library, I tend to use those a lot for like the dialog host or the drawer host, where I might have a button inside of it to say, hey, show this dialog, open the drawer, close the drawer, etc. In this case, it's just a straight up event handler, so maybe we just add one of these. That seems like a pretty easy ask. Does mean we have to be a little careful and think through the API a little bit. That's not horrible. Okay, so let's go here and go with time changed. Oh, interesting. Sorry, I actually looked at the implementation and just realized that they did something a little different. Oh, they did do it as a routed event. They just gave her a C# event to wrap it. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, let's mimic it, because having this thing behave like the calendar probably makes a lot of sense. So we'll just create one of these guys. Boom, boom, slap you in there. I do want to check here. You stay open. I feel like I keep needing you. Let's go and take a quick look-see at your assignment. Routing strategy direct. Owner type. Okay. We'll add this in. I see no problem with this. Okay, do I already have a static thing? I do. Okay, so time changed event. This is going to be called, and this we're going to be able to do name of. We'll keep that the same. We'll need to figure out what this is supposed to be, because this selection changed event args. Yeah, that's not what we want. That's kind of an obnoxious. But the owner type is clock. At least I assume that the last one is owner type. Yeah. Okay, so let's finish this thing down here. So this is going to be time changed event. Close this out. Let's see. Time changed. And then expression body, all the things. Great. That goes like that. That goes like that. Everyone's happy. We could actually probably, there's no reason this needs to be done up here. Let's put this in line. It's probably, make it mirror the dependency property bit. Do that. Something more akin to that. Okay, and then every time the time value changes, well, we need to figure out what the event args are going to be too, because I don't really like selection changed. We don't. I mean, I could go. It really should be an event args. I don't like. Oh, it does need to derive from routed event args too. I don't really like this one. This one just feels really yucky. Yeah, so we're not going to use this. I think maybe just time changed event args and call it a day. Let's see. Public sealed class time changed event args. Something like that. Move you out. And I think what we're going to do is public date time previous wonder if that's the right terminology. Previous and new seems weird. Old and new, previous and next. I don't like next. I like previous. What do you call the time that was and the time that will be? Because we do have here the what is it? Dependency property changed event args. Wow, that's a heck of a name. I heard E. Okay. Because this thing does have new value, old value. Old time, new time. I like it. Let's roll with it. And then please gen me a constructor. Add parameter. Hey, I want you to assign it too. Lazy. You only did half the work. Well, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you doing all the work for me. Okay. So this works. I like that. And then this becomes time changed event args. Oh, and I'm wondering. What is the default value here? So it's always going to be a date time. So it's never going to be null. It just might have the default of the date time. Why make event args sealed? Paranoia. But good question. So there is when you seal a class, you prevent all derived or anyone from deriving from it. There is an emphasis on small, teeny, eensy-weensy performance gain when it does method resolution, because it no longer has to worry about walking the method table any higher up, because once it hits a sealed class, it knows it's done. That's the top. It also, from a library developer point of view, it means I can make changes that would break someone if they were to derive from this, because I know it's not possible for them to derive it. So it means slightly less maintenance overhead, and I can make more changes that would otherwise be considered breaking. I try to be conscious of breaking changes, because it's really hard to avoid binary breaking changes. It's really, really hard. Pretty much you touch anything and it's a potential binary breaking change. It's ridiculous. So this just gives, from my perspective, a small bonus in that I can now make changes here knowing that no one's derived from it and breaking it. But great question. Great question. Okay, so, and I guess then the question is, how did they do it in like the callback? They didn't do it there. They must have gone at this guy directly. How did you invoke it? On selected date changed. Raise event. So who calls on selected date changed? So they do pass things through. Okay, so that makes a little sense. But the chain of custody here is getting really out of hand. Oh, really? Oh, I immediately hate this. It's an internal method, so it's being invoked from something outside of this. Okay, we aren't doing that garbage. We ain't doing that garbage. But I am wondering if I want to do a on-time changed event. So we might do something like this. Protected virtual void on time changed. Yeah, we'll go with that. And then go with raise event. Time changed event args. I think we do that. This way, if somebody has some reason why they want to intercept the event and either like muck with the args or do something, it gives an extension. Okay, and then up here, what we'll end up doing is we need to create us. I need to make me one of these things. I am a little surprised that this thing. Oh yeah, that's what I'm missing. Doesn't routed events constructor have a? Yeah, one of those. I should probably expose an extra constructor on that. Regardless, we'll get it working first, and then we'll fix it. Okay, so args gets new, and then we need old time and new time. So this is e old value. So this cast is safe, but it's not apparent why, in my opinion. This cast is safe because this callback should only get invoked by the dependency property changing. Because the dependency property is typed as a date time, and the default value is the default of date time, which will be non-nullable, it will be very difficult for anyone to get a null value in, or a value that doesn't cast to a date time. Still technically possible, but the jumps people would have to do, they should expect failures anyway. So on, let's see, so clock, because I'm in a static method here, on time changed args. And I'm wondering if this should actually go down below set flags. What exactly does set flags do? Yeah, this event should occur after the flags are set. Okay, and then the problem here is this thing is going to call raise event, which is expected to look at the routed event to know which one it needs to go to. And so normally what you would end up having to do is give it the routed event. But unfortunately, I did not add that to my constructor. Routed event base routed event. We'll do that. We'll pass it through just so that it knows, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now we could write a UI test on this, but I think a simple unit test will suffice for this. I normally don't like unit tests over controls because you have to do extra work with them, but in this case, it'll also be quicker, and I think we already have a clock test. Yes, we do. We do. Okay. And because we're in here, file scope namespace, all the things, because I can't resist. Okay, so give me a test. Okay, so give me a clock, apply the default styles, and I named these poorly. So clock time changed, or how about, we're already in a time changed event. When time changes, event is raised. Okay, so that's what we want. And then we want to do clock time changed. And then don't do that. Don't be dumb. kind of want part of you. Boom. And then let's rename this to something more like on time changed. Okay, so I don't want to actually invoke this a couple times. So list, and let's just do, oh, actually we'll just do time changed event args. Invocations. Do that. Give me that, and then we'll make this event very simple. Invocations add e. Done. Okay, and then use of unassigned local variable. Oh, there. Happy now? Which one? Which one? Okay, so we will do clock dot time gets date time dot now. Clock dot time gets clock, or lowercase clock dot time plus time span from minutes -2. So just to guarantee, so initial set, which should trigger it off of the default, and then a value that I can guarantee will be different. To use compound assignment. Oh, okay, we can do that. Okay, so arrange, act. Now we do the assert. So we'll start with assert equal to invocations count. And I'm realizing I probably want to assert on the actual values. So let's do a, we're just going to cache now. That way, because I don't care what time now is. I just care that I can get access to it. So let's see. So assert equal, let's see, default date time is the expected for, let's see, invocations 0.old time. And then for the new time, I expect now. I'm just going to separate these a little bit. Okay, and then this, the old time on the second invocation, I expect to be now. And then now plus time span from minutes -2. And this should be the new time. Okay, so that should work. Let's see what happens. Easy mode. Test passes. Huzzah! Huzzah! And actually, I guess we can drop this down to just default, because it can infer the type because it knows the type of old time, so that works. Okay, so we are going to go back over to our, don't need you here. You failed a test. That's disappointing. What did you fail on? Combo box test. So we're going to come back to you in a moment. But let's create a branch off of here. Fix. And then let's go get our issue number. Boom. And so let's see here. Check our changes. So file scope namespace. We added a change here to create it. We added the routed event. Verify it got raised. Class makes sense. We added a test for it. Okay. Add a new time changed event to clock. Fixes that one. Stage all. Commit. Push. Submit. Let's see. PR. And then create pull request. There's that. So let's go back and take a little look-see here. What did you fail on? This failed on editable with default context menu, shows copy and paste. Combo box test line 116, assert not null failure. And this is the only reason I didn't. I'm going to change this up. I don't like this. I don't like this. Okay. Because when I see the not null failure, there's 4 not null checks in that test. And so I now have to do line number comparisons in order to know which one of those was the actual failure. And I'd much prefer to just read that off the error log. Right? When this fails, I would like to know something beyond assert not null failure. So it's line 116. So it failed to get the context menu. So, probably because I did that. Which is a pretty good reason. Okay. So we're going to do this. Assert true is not null. And then I want to give a user message. No context menu set on the combo box. Okay, so we're gonna do this down here too, because I like getting useful error messages out of this. I cannot talk. Okay, so true. Let's see, and you got to be a little careful with async methods here, because maybe I'm gonna break these out, because this is gonna be really hard to read if I don't. Let's see, var cut menu item. Let's see. Cut menu item is not null. Cut menu item found. And I left a time span delay in my test. Boy, that was dumb of me too. Okay. I just did all kinds of things. Let's see. So, async task assert menu string menu header. Sorry, I just realized I'm going to end up duplicating all of this with just different strings in there. Let's see. So we're going to do menu header, menu item becomes menu item. I think I can make this thing. Oh, I don't want to make this method static because I want access to the context menu. And then this becomes menu header. There. So now I can just come down here and go await, insert menu, cut, copy, paste. Run test. And this is why CI/CD is important, because I would have accidentally pushed those changes without carefully reviewing them like I should have. It just keeps me honest. It's like an obnoxious coworker that's always reviewing your code and pointing out everything you failed at. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay, green checkbox. Let's see. 16 test failures. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. Okay. And for my coworkers who are watching, I do appreciate your code reviews. As I'm sure some of you watching have probably reviewed my code at least once. Okay, let's pick on another one. Let's see. Shadows on control get stuck. Oh yeah, this one looked weird. Yeah, okay, so this video is fun. Here, I'll drop the link in the chat if anybody wants to do it. I don't know how well this video is going to stream, but you'll note wiggling the mouse over it, the darken thing gets to get stuck. And I think Zalek's description of what's causing it is probably spot on the mark, because this thing here is beginning an animation. And there's no concept of like cancel previous animation or any of that jazz if something else comes in. This is basically a fire and forget. So if you trigger this a bunch of times, you're going to end up adding a bunch of these thingies on here. So there's that. So I think, let's first make sure we can replicate this. I think this is probably an easy one to replicate in the demo app, but I'm probably going to have to flip it to light mode in order to make that a thing. Shadows, and then let's go flip it to light mode. Yeah, see, it's on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. And I think, okay, come back, Snoop. Go look at this. Let's go look at this. I think we can find this pretty easily. Because this will exist on the button itself. And let's go look at where that file was that was linked. Let's see. So this is Shadow Assist, about line 76. We go here and go Shadow Assist. Line 76 is about in this vicinity. So the darken property grabs the UI element, grabs the effect, and does some animation on it. So if I go here, I should be able to grab the button. I should look at the effect property. That doesn't have it directly on there. Would have thought that that's the one that would have done it. Let's catch it here. Okay, so what's the UI element here? Oh, this is the border. So this is actually inside of it. One duration. Darken. Okay, so this is probably being forwarded in, I'm guessing. Let's go take a quick look at that button style. Just grab darken theme. And we're gonna go here, button, go here. So is mouse over, darken goes true. So this is what's going to be triggering that, and there's the border that it's targeting. So when the mouse is over the button, it sets the Shadow Assist darken property to true, which gets us into here, and moving it off, the trigger would unset, and so go back to false. So is mouse over false would remove this setter. So then it would be able to fall back. Because this is true here, false here, and this is where the timing starts to get weird. Drop shadow effect, begin animation. I don't know if there's a way to grab... the... Get animation base value. Because you almost want to stop the existing animation first. What's the return from begin animation? Does this give you something you can stop it with? Handoff behavior. Replacing existing animations, the properties of which they are applied. I wonder if that's the issue. Is maybe it's defaulting to compose? So what happens if you do this and... No, it's doing snapshot and replace. What is the description down here on the handoff? Any current animations already affecting the property value. So what's going to happen here, though? Let's see. I'm trying to read your message, and it snoops over the window. Call begin animation with the second argument set to null. That would make sense. Because I think that's part of the issue, is we've got too many things triggering too rapidly. And I think what we want to do is, if there's an existing animation, we want to cancel it and then move on. Let's do a couple things here real quick. So I'm going to update some of this code to be a little newer. Set local info. What is the set local info doing? Shadow local info. Standard opacity. So it's kind of caching it. I'm thinking... what we want to do is a couple things here. Because right now, so I think the failure case is new value true starts to darken, value false starts to undarken, which apparently does a snapshot and replace. And this one is intelligent about the value that it's using because it's going to pull this local info object back off of it. But then a new one comes in before this one has finished, and it starts going the other direction. So I think what we want to do is have on a new value, if there is an existing animation in progress, kill it. And actually, we can probably do that blindly. We don't even care. I think we can do this straight up. I think we could preemptively just kill it. Because we can't kill it on the off. Let's see what that does. I think that's probably enough. I don't know if there's a good way to write a test on this. Because it's so timing related. I mean, I could write a UI test that like moves the cursor on and off really quick, but because it's so animation and time based, I don't know if I would trust it. Okay, so we're gonna go light mode because that's easier to see. That still works. And now it's not getting stuck. Yeah, I think that's the kicker. It's before darkening. Before darkening, kill any existing animations. I think that works. We're gonna ship it. We're gonna ship it. Let's see. Create branch here. This will be a fix for over here. Not you, not you. We already know about you. I already know about you. 2709. Boom. Stage. Fixing issue where shadows get stuck. Fixes pound 2709. Boom. Commit change. I don't even need a push. I forgot. I can just drag it down here. Boom. Pushed. PR. Create pull request. You on GitHub. Such a convenient workflow. Such a convenient workflow. Okay, pull requests. This thing failed? Why did you fail? Null ability types. Oh. On time change do not match. Well, that is very obnoxious. So this is probably worth calling out. And I've gone back and forth on this, on whether this is a good idea or not. So one thing that I have done on this project is I have turned on warnings as errors, but I have conditionally turned on warnings as errors. So we do have nullable reference types enabled in the library, and I believe appropriately applied everywhere. If you find a mistake, it's a bug, please log it. But because I want this project to be something that people can clone and just run easily and play with, having warnings as errors turned on really kind of gets in the way of just playing with the code. And so the idea was I turn on warnings as errors, but only in the pipeline. So yeah, that's a thing. And so this little warning right here that I ignored needs to be fixed. Like that. Yeah. So if you want to submit a pull request to the library, please check your warnings. Otherwise, the pipeline will check them for you. Okay, so fixing nullability of parameter. Push. Okay, that's good. Okay, so that'll fix that. Let's go back because it looks like I've just been making a slew of failing pull requests. Okay, this pull request passed now, so that's good. So 2690 squash merge. Let's make sure so we can delete the branch. 2690. You're there. You're closed. Everyone's happy. Great. I've done something. I've accomplished something tonight. Okay. This needs to go into the current milestone because it's about to be fixed. Boom, boom, boom. Just gonna close some stuff out. Transition animation appears blank. I'm a little hesitant to play with the transitioner. This is going to be something more. Editable combo box behavior broken. This looks familiar. Yeah, this is definitely a bug. And this is very much related to that other one that we just fixed with the combo box. And again, this is one of these weird problems because we fixed one bug and added a new one. Ugh. Grumble, 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 grumble. Okay, okay. This is definitely a bug that should get fixed. I don't know if it's one I want to tackle right now though. But I'll add it to the milestone because it really should get fixed. Let's look at this binding issue. When I try to use it, it results in binding issues. All the binding errors go away, and I'm not exactly sure what's causing the issue. When I run the UI and try to use the combo box with the field, it breaks the UI. The breaks. So the navigation rail. Inside the solution, find the test project. If you build that, it will work. Because of the binding errors. Okay, so this is... Okay, well there is a... Let's take a quick download and take a look at this. I do appreciate if somebody goes to the effort of giving me a reproduction project. I generally have a rule that I try to put in as much effort looking at people's issues as they put into reporting them. So if somebody goes to the effort of spinning a solution and putting together a nice reproduction project, I try to make sure I at least fire it up and go through it and try to understand it. Because the more effort somebody's willing to put into reporting it warrants, well, I think it's respectful to give at least the same amount of effort into fixing it. Okay, so let's see, what were the directions that he left on here? So find the test project. If you build that, it will work. The issue is the test project UI does not show that there are binding errors, but if you try to use the combo boxes in UI, it will break because of the binding errors. Okay, so I need the test project and fire it up and then try to use the combo boxes. Okay, so test project, set as startup project, fire in the hole. Probably should have reviewed the code before I hit go just to make sure it's not going to do anything horrible to my system. I'm a little too trusting. So let's see. So this is interesting. Okay, so there's some indirection-y bits in here as well. Okay, so we got this going. Okay, so let's take a little look-see. Go here. I try to use any of the combo boxes. Doesn't seem to be a problem. Doesn't seem to be a problem. Okay, let's take a quick look here. So main control. So user control. User control has a bunch of stuff. Bringing in a bunch of styles, including tab control. Okay. I'm guessing there's a tab control in here. Grid, button, tab control. Okay, so let's see, tab item templates, tab name. So this is dynamically loading a bunch of stuff. Okay. Combo box. guess though the question is, which style is he applying here? So this is the navigation rail. So this is the one that was supposed to work. If I turn this off, let's just relaunch to make sure. Because that was, I believe that was the issue, is navigation rail worked. When I change the style to navigation rail, all the binding errors go away. Okay, but the filled tab control is causing problems. So we'll interesting. Okay, that's a bug. So I will drop this off and see, issue reproduces on the test project as described. Well, at least throw that out there so people know that that is there. Oh, this thing looks like it passed. Put you in the milestone. Squash merge, and we come in, delete my branch. Make sure you are closed out. We can drop evaluation required because that is a bug for sure. Time change to clock, and I'm going to slap a release notes doohickey on this because this is definitely an enhancement. Slap that on there, squash merge, delete branch. Go back. I want to make sure this guy gets closed out. That guy is closed and done. Great. Okay, so that's in. That goes away. Okay, so, but there is still the question of what the heck? Let's see. The interesting part is I don't see the binding errors. So there are no binding errors. The thing just behaves very, very strangely. It's interesting that the navigation rail worked, and then this one appeared to throw away all its content. Huh. Let's relaunch, and let's take a small gander at this guy. We'll go with the Visual Studio tools this time, just to make it different. All right, so we'll come in here, tab control. Let's see here. I kind of want to grab it, something actually inside. Let's actually grab it down at this level. So let's see, data grid. There's the tab control itself. I'm looking for the tab item inside of it. Let's see, tab control, selected, part corner. Data grid is definitely inside. Art selected content host. And then this guy here. I mean, it seems to think it's still there. Oh, no, it's closed it out. Interesting. Oh, weird. It disconnected itself from the... It disconnected itself from the live visual. What the heck? I've never seen a project do that before. Hang on, is this doing something weird with like... There used to be a project out called Caliburn that has long since fallen out of favor. but it was highly driven by convention, which is part of what I didn't like about it. Is it was great when the magic worked and horrible to debug when the magic didn't work. Okay, Snoop, we're gonna try you. Because I want to see what I trust your bit a little more. Whoa. Whoa, hello Houston. It just straight up dropped it. Data grid, data. So the data context is null now. Which would explain why that's empty. Interesting. So you are supposed to be project view model. Let's go up a level. Project scope object. So let's see, that binding is supposed to be pointed at project view model dot parameter list. That is not what you are pointed at. Why? Project scoped object. That's really interesting. Parameter list. I'm now curious how it was able to load anything. You know your data context? You do. Okay, you have a tab view model. Project doc. So tab view model. Project TFX path. Project DFX. That one. The main control. Oh, interesting. So the data context is changing. The data context on the view is changing. To be the main control, project scoped object. It's getting itself one of these. Where do you come from? What do you... Testing project name. You are probably the empty project. So, where did you come from? Okay. So main, which is, let's see, test window, unloaded, sets the data context. So hang on, project scoped object gets set, data context gets set to empty, and then gets set to the project scoped object, which is coming from loading that. Want to relaunch. I'm wondering if this is just a weird case of timing. Kind of hard to tell. The properties. What is your data context? What is your data context? Data context, a tab view model. Okay. Project document view model. So the data context is changing. So there is a difference in data context for the tab control. Boy, this is a complicated, this is very complicated to look at. See, binding options. Let's go here and let's do something a little more, because it looks to be a data context changing problem. So just slap in a new event handler. And I'm curious to see what's triggering this data context changed, because it appears there's something triggering it. Okay, so we got our first one in here. I'm just gonna bring these guys over here. New value, old value, a bunch of olds. And if we go on the call stack, I'm guessing we will see, let's turn off external code for the moment. So yeah, so this is not shocking there. Okay, just gonna check the call stack here. So on loaded, we swap it out. Okay, no major shocks there. It's right where we came from. Okay, and of course you open on the wrong screen. And if I do this, what? Okay, let's confirm what I thought I knew of the data context of the tab control changing. I thought that's what I knew. Because it would not shock me to know that the data contexts were not being appropriately forwarded into the tab control. Because the tab control is kind of a weird items control in the way that it does its data binding, even the default one. See, and it did it there. It did it there before any of the see, and that's where I'm wondering if there's. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this. I think. Just comment those out. I'm guessing something is flowing the data context wrong. I think what's happening is as soon as a layout pass happens, yeah, so there's something going on there. So that killed everything, so that's not quite right. Let's do that. Something I think is just killing the data context. Yeah, so as soon as I do that, it kills it immediately. Does this property do something funky? Why are you failing to load main? Test window, main control. I know where you are. You are being annoying, Visual Studio. Why will you not just resolve? Okay, so project scope object. Let's jump back. Project scope object. This property isn't fancy. So it has, by default, it gets a new project name, tabs, all the things. Are there triggers or something on any of these to collapse them? I'm wondering if this is part of the problem here. Because it's a little weird to reload the data context this many times. And I'm wondering if that's part of the problem, is the data context is being set at, it looks like it's being set and reset at multiple different levels. Window data context doesn't change again, the main controls does. I think so. So, because this event handler that I've got is nested all the way down. So, from main window only contains main control. Main control has a bunch of stuff in it, but more importantly, a couple stack panels that then contain the tab control. It's interesting that so by commenting out those lines, okay. Where are those lines? Let's put this back. Put it back to where it was. Put it back to where it was. And this type of setup on here is kind of weird. This is very much a weird mix of MVVM and code behind, which usually is a recipe for disaster. Okay, so it has all the stuff, but here's my theory, is that it has stuff currently right up until it has to re-render. And anything that causes a layout pass is going to make it do that. How can I trigger one of these? Yeah, because the moment I go to inspect, it drops. That is what's really interesting to me. Get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. This is main control. So this is main controls data context here. And this is setting main controls data context again. So main controls data context is getting set 3 times. Once in its constructor, once here, and once here. So now we should be down to 2 hits. We look here, or I guess now we should be down to 1. So just that one. Okay. That was the only setter of it. What's happening with tab control templates? Could it be something odd in those templates? Yeah, so make a good point. There's another way to attack this. Is over here, because there are 2 different tab control templates that are in here. So the one we started on was the navigation rail. So if we go here, so not that one. Yeah, so this is the one we started on, was navigation rail. And if we put that one back, it worked. I'm gonna put all of this back. Let's see, main control, tab control. I just realized there's a lot of templating going on here. So style, static resource, boom. So if we do that, this apparently works. Because tab control is kind of a weird control, because you have one context effectively for the content of your tab, and then one for like the I want to call it header, the little bumpy part of the tab where the button goes that you click on. Let's just confirm navigation rail doesn't see the same problems now that we understand what this is doing. So this all appears to work just fine. Oh man, I may have to dive back in on this when I'm thinking straight, but this is set up, this is working, everything's happy. I guess maybe that's the first question then. What is the... We look at the tab control here, properties, and we look at his data context. It looks as one would expect. There's a single tab in there. Tab has a project. The project has a bunch of parameters, and the parameters are what are ending up being bound to that data grid. And that is the binding context here. So actually here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just poor man's copy and paste. And canvas. So paint.net, paste. I just want to check one more time. Something is very off, and I can't quite put my finger on it, and it's bothering me. If we remove the style setter, which will drop us into the default. It's weird. Oh, because I was outside of it. Got it. We do that. And you'll note it immediately disappears. And then if we go live visual tree, because you'll know this is a very different looking visual tree. The templates are not that similar, despite the fact that they look like they should. Data context. So I have that. So if we look at the paint.net one, project scoped object matches blah blah blah. If we look at the tabs, there's one tab view model, project view model name, and then this guy here has a bunch of parameters. So if that's the case, the issue must be show properties. System data context overridden, disconnected item. Yeah, so that seems okay. So that's probably what's happening. The other thing, so tab control by default is also a virtualized control. So one of the things that often bites people, especially when you use data templates for your content, is those UI elements on tabs that aren't visible are not created at all. Like it's a rather nice performance thing because a tab control expects its tabs to be mutually exclusive, only one of them visible at a time. It'll defer load the content of all of those until it actually needs them. And the fact that this tab item has its data context as a disconnected item typically occurs when something's been removed from the visual tree. So there is a problem. So this is definitely a bug. And this is going to be, this is the rail tab item. I think, let me just look through here real quick. Because there's a part selected content, content source, content template, this bit here. Put a marker there. I have a sinking suspicion that this guy, based on tab control base, which I believe is right above, which it is, I have a sinking suspicion selected content host. See it there. Let's look between these. Content source. This one definitely set up more. What is it? Let's fix the and then fix those. So this one sets some text block and text element coloring. That shouldn't make any difference at all. Snap device to pixels. Did I lose my other one when I reordered it? There. Content source, selected content. Content string. Content string. Content template selector. Content template selector, both using template bindings. Great. Focusable false. Focusable false. Both of them use margin and padding to apply. Snap device to pixels. Snap device to pixels, and then one of them applies some attached properties. Are there any triggers directly targeting that guy? Doesn't look like it. Interesting. Now the other thing this could be that I haven't even considered yet. Okay, hypothetical. I'm making a sweeping assumption without looking at what version is in here. Let's run up to the latest preview. Assuming Visual Studio is going to let me. Come on, Visual Studio. Wow, what are you doing, Visual Studio? 189 is the magical number. Let me in. This is Visual Studio telling me I should stop. Because I'm comparing the latest code out there without considering whether the code that I'm looking at in the repo actually lines up with what's being used here. Let's just, by grabbing the latest beta, it'll be the one from like last night or a couple nights ago. And I haven't made any changes tonight in regards to the tab control, so it'll be close enough. Let's just hypothetically see if this is something that got fixed. Because I can't, after 2 weeks of not touching this, I can't remember all the changes that went in. Okay, so latest build doesn't fix it. Okay, so we can be reasonably confident that the code we are looking at over here causes the problem. So then the next one would be the tab control item. So on the default one, it would be picking this guy up. Let me just make sure there's no direct data context. Okay, so there is no direct data context being set in here. That's good. Is selected. I'm just very surprised this guy works. Though I am wondering if this one's explicitly setting the item container style and the other one isn't. And I'm wondering if that's part of the problem. Is this is relying on an implicit style match. Yeah, because this defaults here. I'm wondering if that's the difference. Because of the way this is being referenced. Oh, I wonder if that's doing it. Because in the main control, this doesn't bring in defaults. Oh, it may not be getting the material design tab style. Item container style. Let's set it directly. Why do you keep doing that? I wonder if that's doing it. No. Or at least that by itself isn't enough. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Because that is a difference. is the tab item in one case is being applied but not in the other. Okay. Last run at this, and then I'm gonna call it a night. But I wanna look a little closer at this really quick. So tab control.